Alright, so I've got a few. Alright, kids. It's time for story time number 2. I live in California, and right now there's a lot of smoke outside, so I'm not going to be doing any running around, because that's not a good idea. So today, because I don't have good sun, we're actually going to talk about full shade succulents. These are plants that can endure full shade, but I wouldn't suggest they stay 100% full shade. So the number one that we're going to talk about is called the snake plant. It is also a Sansevieria. It is also known as a mother-in-law's tongue. It is actually behind me. It's the only plant succulent that I have indoors. They do very well with neglect, so make sure not to water them all that often, because you have to think about it. If there's no direct sunlight to help drain that soil and then take away the water, you don't want to overwater it. Number 2 is an aloe. Now we have a lot of different aloes. The one that I currently own that does really well in partial sun is my white spine. So water only when soil is dry, especially if you have it indoors. Make sure to only water it when it's dry. The next one that we have is a zebra cactus, or also known as a Haworthia. We've talked about a lot of these in my past videos. They have really shallow roots, so when you water them, you want to make sure just to do the root base and not to completely soak the entire soil, just because it is very small compared to the actual succulent. The next one is a Burrow's tail. It is a sedum type. They have a lot of hanging leaves. If you end up wanting to really get this guy to take off, you'll need fertilizer, and the ratio is 10 to 10 to 10. The next one is string of bananas. I don't currently have this one. I actually have the string of pearls, but these two types are Senecio. They are both toxic to pets. The cool thing about these guys is you can put them in hanging pots, so you'll still keep them above pet reach. I'm just letting you know though, just in case. Next one is crown of thorns. It is a euphorbia. The flowering, it only flowers in direct sunlight, but if you keep it indoors, the green leaves stay really green. Every single part of this is toxic, so if you end up wanting to plant this in your house and you have pets, keep it up where they cannot actually get to it. That includes the leaves, that includes the flowers. Just don't mess with it. Agaves can tolerate over and under watering. The majority of agaves, though, you do have to be careful with where they are in your house. If you have a lot of room, then that's good. If you have little room, I wouldn't suggest it. The biggest they can get is up to 5 feet. There are some that do really well with different climates, and if your house stays really warm, they can get up to 7. So be careful with that. The next one is bear paws, or cotyledons. This one is very similar to the panda plant. So they're both fuzzy. They're both, one's kalinko and then the other one's cotyledon. So bear paws is cotyledon. I swear I can speak. And then the panda plant is a kalinko. Now the panda plant will not bloom if kept indoors. In direct sunlight, it doesn't do very well, so it prefers partial to full sun if you want to actually get it to bloom. The bear paws, you have to keep them dry in the winter. They are prone to freezing, but after that they do really well. The next one is a jade. So jades are crassulas. They are drought tolerant. They do very well in neutral pH. Now, later on in the future, I'll be able to tell you specifically what is neutral in pH for soil, and then how to determine the safety of fertilizer for succulents. So they are drought tolerant, and if you keep them in full shade, though, they do have reduced growth. It's not necessarily that they will start like receding in growth, but they stay small. The next one third to last, I will say, is the Flaming Katy. It's a Kalenko. I actually have this outdoors. It's the one that flowers. I'll post a picture here. It blooms in full sun, but the leaves stay a deep dark green without full sun, and it's a warm climate succulent. So if you live in a cold climate but you keep it indoors, it will endure. The next one is String of Hearts. This is the second to last one, String of Hearts. So cool thing about this guy is that your leaves will stay green if they get full shade, but they'll turn purple if they're in full sun. And then the last one is a Kiwi Aeonium. Now the reason that I had this one as the last one is because it is a monocarpic succulent. So basically what happens is if this particular succulent comes to full bloom and it ends up blooming, it will die. I've never had any of mine bloom, and basically what happens is just they push out flowers instead of other babies or sibling plants. And so if you ever come across a blooming Kiwi Aeonium, and these, just know that these are monocarpic and it will soon die. Now because I haven't had any bloom on me in the first place, I don't have the experience to specifically say what happens when it dies, if it does end up surviving, like what parts of it can survive, kind of thing. So that's just one of those things that I found really fascinating. And even though it is an indoor succulent, you know, what parts of it. So I'm going to show pictures now of these particular succulents, and then I'll just integrate it into the video because I am smart. This is my snake plant. So purty. Warthia, Bear Paw, Kalenko. Recording. This is my Jade. String of Pearls.